Welcome to the Dirt Broadcast. Dig into the bottom of every situation to get to the truth. Here's your host, Jason Mills.
Hello, folks. Give everybody just a minute to get on here. Hope everybody's doing good today. Trying to get my phone up to speed. Been a beautiful day today. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. I think we've got some good weather going on for the next few days, all that good stuff. So I hope everybody gets a chance to get out there and have a good time. Like I said, just giving everybody just a chance to get on, and I'm trying to share me out here, so that's what I'm doing. Well, bear with me just for a minute. We'll jump into some stuff. Well, that should be good enough. Hope everybody's doing good. Remember to like, share, comment. We appreciate it. Remember to ask any question you have throughout the night. It's a little warm in here, so I apologize. Hope everybody, like I said, enjoyed the weather today and what weather's coming. It looks like it's going to be beautiful. I think we got some rain one day soon, but other than that, it looks pretty good. Hope everybody's getting over all this flu stuff and all those kinds of good things. Hope everybody's on the mend and feeling better and all that. I'm just giving everybody just another minute or so. So I'm just rambling at the moment. But we do got some good stuff to cover today. We've got all kinds of interesting happenings at the county commission meeting last night. And some other things I want to touch base on. And that kind of thing. So remember to invite your friends to the podcast, your neighbors, all that kind of good thing. I appreciate it. Would love to get these numbers growing as quickly as we can, get as much information to as many people as we can out there. I've not looked in a few days. So I'm just going to look and see where we stand as far as how many people we've got. Let's see. Looks like we've got 114 followers. So that's pretty good considering we are pretty much brand new to podcasting again. So help me get those numbers up there, folks. Invite you, like I said, your friends, your neighbors, all that kind of good thing. Get them on here and let's make sure everybody knows what's going on in Union County. I see Miss Emma Booth has liked my podcast since we've been live. So thank you, Emma. We appreciate it. Like I said, remember to like, share, comment, and all that. We'll get on the road here in about 30 seconds or so. Just trying to give everybody enough time to get on here. You know, sometimes it's a little slow and the notifications are a little slow going out. So we normally try to give about 5 minutes. How's everybody doing tonight? Nobody's commented yet, so hope you're doing good. All right. Well, remember, you can watch me or this podcast, whatever you want to call it, on Facebook, on YouTube, under the Dirt Podcast. You can also watch it on Rumble. On Rumble, you have to look up the Dirt Podcast UC. Again, that's the Dirt Podcast UC for Union County on Rumble. And Facebook and YouTube, it's just simply the Dirt Podcast. So we greatly appreciate everybody that has liked the page so far. And we've got 30 followers and 114 or 13, whatever I said a few minutes ago, members to the page and that kind of thing. So that's awesome. I greatly appreciate it. I know it took some work to do that because, you know, we were not able to go live until I got over 100. So that took a little bit of work on everybody's part. So we greatly appreciate that. And let's jump into some things, shall we? Hope everybody had a chance to at least watch the county commission meeting from last night, or listen to it. I know several folks were in attendance last night, and that was good to see. I think that was a huge deterrent for some things that could have happened that didn't happen, and that kind of thing. But before we get into the commission meeting, I wanted to, I wanted to jump in and talk about a few other things that happened since the last podcast. So again, folks, if you got any comments or questions, feel free to type them at any time. I should be able to see them. I definitely should see them if they're on Facebook. I'm not so sure on the others. They're supposed to, but I've not had any comments over there yet. So may not be able to see all those. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how well it works. But anyways, so some interesting things that have happened since the last podcast. I found out the other day that I was nominated, or got an email. I was nominated for the Who's Who of America. Those of you might be familiar with that. It's kind of like a magazine kind of thing. And you know, some local figures and actors and politicians and all those kinds of things are nominated and possibly could make the book or the magazine or whatever you want to call it, and that kind of thing. I'm not high on recognition and all that kind of stuff, like you all should already know, most of you that know me anyway. But it was a great honor to get that and read that today, that I was nominated once again for the Who's Who of America. So something to be proud of, and that kind of thing. So just spread that to everybody too, because it's not all about me. It's about all of us working together, doing the things that we do. And so that's that. But so last week, you know, we got in a discussion about some folks that would potentially run for office. And we talked about, you know, mayor, we talked about sheriff, we talked about several different things, or folks that might be interested in running for office. And again, last week I stipulated when I was talking about it that I just heard that these people were running. I've just heard that that kind of thing. And I even, if I recall correctly, stated I was speculating and that I did not know for fact that these folks were running for office and all those kinds of things. And well, somebody apparently took offense to that and decided to take it upon themselves and text me and try to give me down the road about me saying that I heard they were going to run for mayor. Again, I made it perfectly clear that I was only speculating and it was just something that I heard. and that it wasn't something that I confirmed. And we were just having a conversation, folks. I wasn't actually saying things were fact. And as far as that goes and all that kind of stuff, if y'all watched the podcast from last week and that kind of thing, but however it happened, this person, current county commissioner, decided that it was so important to call me out on my lies that he decided to text me and that kind of thing. Well, apparently this particular commissioner forgot that I'm not one to hold my tongue, and nor am I one to back down and that kind of thing. So anyways, he just started out with just trying to talk down to me, which he normally does, and that kind of thing. And that kind of thing. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I was going to read it, but basically, like I said, it was just, trying to put me in my place. And by the end of the conversation, the end of the text, I simply said, I'll talk about whatever at any time. And I was just currently busy at the time, so I couldn't continue my conversation with him. But then I said, just like I'll call you out on all your shenanigans all the time, you should know that, and you should know that I'm not afraid. It's just more of the same that, you constantly have to deal with this particular person, commissioner. And he's one of several that like to get on different platforms, Facebook or, text message or write you an email or whatever, and kind of talk down to you where that you might think that, you shouldn't be messing with this person. We've all had the whole thing where it was, if you don't like what we do, move out of the county. And, we've been through all those other things, and it's just nonsense. And, if I would have last week said, in particular, that I knew for a fact this person was running, if I knew this, and if I said that, then he would have every right to come after me, right? But I didn't. And I said I was speculating. I said I heard. And it was just a simple conversation that some people that were in the comments started asking, and that kind of thing. So it is what it is. I don't have enough time in the day to talk about all the dislikes that I have for this particular county commissioner. It's just funny. I had several people come to me last night and talk to me at different times. A lot of county commissioners came and talked to me last night. And I'm cordial with everybody. I'll say hi to everybody. I'll talk to everybody. If y'all want to have a discussion with me, I'm more than happy to have that discussion. If you don't like something I say, feel free to talk to me about it. If I don't like something you don't or that you say, you can guarantee that I'm going to talk to you about it. I'm going to make it known that I'm not happy about it one way or another. But anyways, and he did apologize to me last night and that kind of thing, which I appreciate it. And it is what it is. It's water under the bridge. But I just wanted to use that as a point to show what I always say. And if you remember, I've said it a million times probably by now. And we need to remind these folks in government, and I'm not talking about just local government, state government, federal government, all of them. We need to remind them sometimes that these folks work for us and that we do not bow down to them. And, they get elected, and then they, not all of them, but some of them get elected and they get a big head, and then they decide that, they're more powerful than you and they can tell you what to do and you got to obey what they say and you've got to do all these things. Well, it's not the case. And the case is, point blank period, is if we don't like what our government is doing, we have every right to write letters, call, go to these meetings, and make our voices heard peacefully. I'll add that in there before I get accused of something else, but peacefully do these things and make sure that they're doing what we want, not that we have to do what they say. It's never been one of those things where we've got to do what they say. If that be the case, we will still be under the rule of the King of England, and we are not. So just one of those other things that I want to just mention for a minute, and just to point out again what kind of people we are dealing with that continue to get elected for some reason. And I don't understand that either. Everybody talks about we want change, we want better, we want this, we want that, we want less taxes. All these things that we get to hear that all the time that people want, but then when it comes to the ballot box, nobody wants to actually vote that way. It's the same old same. Are we vote for our family? Are we, we vote for the good old boys, or we do all these things. Well, if we keep doing that, nothing will ever change unless it's just the way you like doing things, and then vote that way. Everybody is entitled to their opinion, but myself, I like low taxes. I like freedom. And I like government out of my business as much as possible. So that's just the way I look at it. And don't get that confused with me being in government's business, because I feel that that's my business. And that should be every one of our businesses to make sure that they are actually doing the right thing to serve the people of this great country, this state, this great Union County, this beautiful county we live in. I love it here. It's beautiful. And we just, as far as government goes, make some stupid decisions sometimes. That just leads me right into another stupid decision. So folks, if you remember on the other podcast that I was a part of, we talked about, and I hammered it a lot. I talked about it multiple times. And so much that people probably got tired of hearing about it. And so much that, some local officials started backing me up and saying he's absolutely right. And that was when it came to the new middle school. And I don't know if y'all heard as far as the last school board meeting went and all that kind of thing, but I don't know if y'all heard, but the new middle school don't have enough money to build everything that they're supposed to be building. You remember we got into that this discussion many times on the other podcast. And so what did we learn? Well, we learned exactly what I've been saying all this time since they started, even before they broke ground on the new middle school. And I'm not saying we don't need a new middle school, a new jail. I'm not saying any of that. So don't go back into that mud. Don't go back into all that. But what I'm saying is poor planning, poor decision making, and all these things, because it was hurry up, get it approved so we can start doing what we think is right, and then we'll deal with consequences later. Well, the consequences later always cost us taxpayers more money. And so what am I talking about? Well, if you remember, I continuously said that the new middle school didn't have enough money to build the ball fields. I probably said that a million times if I didn't. Not that much, obviously, but a lot. I said that, and we discussed it, and we were told no, we were wrong. And then all of a sudden, some of the county commissioners came out and said, "Yeah, absolutely, he's right. So we can't build the new jail on the old middle school ball field because we might have to use those ball fields until we can come up with some more money to build the new middle school ball fields, and not to mention all the problems that the new middle school is having with, the sinkholes and all those other things. So it came out in the last school board meeting that the school right now is over $1 million short, and what they proposed the budget to be, and so they don't have the money for the ball fields. And folks, I hate to be one to say I told you so, but I told you so. I told you many times that they were lying, that they were just trying to skirt around things, that they had no intentions. And you remember, I would call out Commissioner Walker, Cheryl Walker, because she was one that was constantly bashing the ball fields, that Union County didn't need no more ball fields, and that we had enough already, and there was no point in building more ball fields and all this stuff. That was part of my clue that, hey, they probably don't have enough money to even build these ball fields anyway. So they've got to have some more meetings. They've got to do some more figuring out what they're going to do, and they pushed it off in the last school board meeting on a decision, because they've got to figure out how to come up with over $1 million to build these ball fields for these kids. And what are we going to do? We're going to either build the school, open the school, no ball fields, so we're either going to have to bust them down to the old ball fields, or are we going to have to just not have middle school sports until we get the ball fields built, which is not fair to those kids that are going to be attending those schools. What's the answer? And that's something that they're still trying to figure out. I get that, but it's something that I seen coming, from a long way away. And why didn't they look at this before the fact? Why didn't they already have a plan in place to cover the overage? We can ask why all day, but again, I knew it. You knew it. I told y'all. We all talked about it. We knew it back then, before they even broke ground. And like I said, I don't think there's certain people in government that even want those ball fields built, period. And I know Cheryl Walker was one of those. She may have changed her mind now, but back then, she didn't want those ball fields and that kind of thing. But then again, Larry Lay's still pushing to build the new jail on the old middle school football field. So if that happens, I don't think it will, because they're pushing to build on this other property, this Lois Hubbs property. But when do we put our kids first? When do we focus on our future generations? When do we decide that, okay, well, we need to invest in our future. We need to do whatever we can to support our kids and give them the best education, the best facility that we can, and all these things, instead of continue just shove it down the road. Let's go back to the old saying. Let's just keep kicking the can down the road, and then we'll deal with consequences later. It's not right for those kids, and I don't think it should be happening. It's the same thing with, I've said it many times too. The high school band's practice field. Y'all remember me talking about that? There's so many holes and all that stuff in the band's practice field that I'm surprised we don't have broken ankles and all those kinds of things that go on in there. They've got to be standing in fire ant heels while they're trying to stand at attention and learn how to do what they're supposed to be doing, and having to deal with those kinds of things. It's not right. But our dedicated high school marching band kids deal with it, because that's what the facilities that they're given. And I've met with both school board superintendents in the last little bit, and talked to them about that, and it's still the same. And the band has always been treated like redheaded stepchildren. But as soon as they want something done, they want a parade done, or if they want a concert done, or something like that, who do they call real quick in a hurry? As our students in the high school marching band. And they do a great job, not knocking those kids at all, but I just wish we were given the same opportunities as the football field or the football team and the basketball team and all these other sports. Why can't the band members get a little bit of love too sometimes? And that's my rant about that. So let me get a drink here and we'll jump right into the county commission meeting. I forgot to get my blackberry one tonight, so it's got the regular. All right. So we had a county commission meeting last night. Like I said, lots of folks turned out, so we appreciate all of that. We thank those that took the time out of their evening to come out and be a part of the process and how the process should always be. If we stay home, folks, then they just do what they want and they don't care what you think. But if we show up, then they start changing their mind. They start looking around. They start seeing who's in the crowd. They start thinking about who called them, who emailed them. They start thinking about all these things, and then things change. And it's not like it would have been, or like the previous meeting when nobody was there, and those kinds of things. So keep that in mind, folks. If you have a chance to come to the meetings, please do that. Please come down there. And you don't have to speak. If you don't want to, just be a body. Just pay attention to what's going on. And, maybe pick up your neighbor and take them down with you or something like that. But so here we go. County commission meeting. They had a full house. Every county commissioner was there. So that was good to see. And I do want to send out my condolences to former county commissioner Gary England, who lost his wife. So we appreciate that. If you keep that family in your prayers, I know losing a loved one is rough. Like I said before, I just lost my mom, and the dedication of this podcast, and will always be in memory of my mother, Carol Mills. So I understand loss is hard to deal with sometimes, especially when it's unexpected or sudden. And so, like I said, keep Gary England and his family in your prayers, and I greatly appreciate it. So we started the county commission meeting like we normally do. We had the call of order, we had the prayer, we had the pledge of allegiance, we had what they call as roll call, and really what all roll call is they just log in on their iPad, so it shows that everybody's there, or who's missing, or what have you. Well, then we went right into the executive session, folks, and which is different than last meeting, because last meeting it was at the end. They decided to do this one in the beginning. So right off the bat, after prayer and all that kind of stuff, everybody got kicked out. Go out in the hallway. You can stay if you want, but right now everybody's out, including the media, everybody that was in the crowd. The only folks that were allowed left in the courtroom was, of course, the mayor, county commissioners, county attorney, and those folks. Everybody else had to leave, and so we have no idea. We can only speculate, and I'm not going to do that as far as that executive session goes. But we can only speculate what they were discussing. However, later in the commission meeting, we did get a little slip up on what happened in the last executive session, and we'll get there in just a little bit. But stay tuned for that, because it's very telling and goes to show that our county commission doesn't do what they're supposed to do the right way, and that kind of thing. Also, one of the other things I want to point out as far as the agenda goes on the commission meeting last night. If you remember last week, folks, I told y'all that I filed a complaint with the state about the vagueness of the county commission meeting and all that kind of thing as far as the agenda goes. And remember, I told you that the state came back and said that they violated the Tennessee Open Meetings Law, otherwise known as the Sunshine Law, and all those kinds of things. If you remember or you watched last podcast, I did talk about that. Well, they fixed that this time. I know you can't see because of my green screen, but there it is, right there on number 19, old business, section A. It says second reading of resolution number 3/127/25 to abolish the office of constables. I think they got my hint. I think they decided, oh, we better do the things the right way this time, or we're going to get in some more trouble. And so I thought that was pretty funny. I'm glad that they opened their eyes and decided that they want to do the right thing. Not saying that it was only me, but I just thought it was funny. I did, like I said, last week file my complaint. And after I got my response back from the state, I did call an attorney and discussed it with them and some other folks. I did call Mayor Bailey and got his response to it too. And his response to it was, well, county commission can do what they want, how they want. And so if they want to do it, a vote or anything else like that, whenever they decide to, they're allowed to. And I said, well, that's not what the state says. And he said, well, if the state wants to file a complaint, they're more than welcome to, or if anybody else does. And so obviously I already filed that complaint. So anyways, I just thought the correction on this agenda just proved everything that I was saying on last month's agenda as far as their little secret shenanigans and that kind of thing. But anyways, going back to this, after the executive session was over, we were allowed to come back in and during the public, one of those folks, a young lady from the district, she spoke about some problems she was having out there in the 5th district that she called law enforcement for many times and couldn't get any assistance from the sheriff's department and that kind of thing. And so she ended up calling Constable John Dennis, and John Dennis actually solved the problem and that kind of thing. So she was, of course, trying to fight and keep the constables for us here in Union County. So we appreciate her taking the time to speak. She got 4 minutes to do that, as everybody did. Well, as soon as she was done speaking, of course, Commissioner Sidney Jesse couldn't help himself. He had to get right in there and start attacking the constables, and he had to start asking her questions. And they're allowed to do that now. Before they weren't allowed to do that. Now they can. After, we had this whole switch from 2 minutes at the end of the meeting to 4 minutes at the beginning of the meeting and all that. If you remember that fight we had with County Commission. But sure enough, here he came, and he, of course, had to start attacking folks. Do you think it's right that citizens or that constables don't obey the law and all this rambling that he kept going on? And I point this out because there's another thing we're going to talk about at the end. So then the next speaker came up, and it was Stephanie Davis from the 4th District, and she spoke on the open records, the open meetings and that kind of thing. And she requested that county commission follows the law and that kind of thing, and stop talking about things they shouldn't be talking about behind closed doors, because there's a way that commissions and city councils and all these folks are supposed to handle themselves, and obviously our county commission doesn't like to follow those rules and regulations, and that kind of thing. So of course, right after Miss Stephanie got done speaking, here comes Sydney Jesse again, right back on the constables, and just on the attack. And we all know that Sydney Jesse has a passion to abolish these constables. I was going to say something else, but he for whatever reason, whatever problem he has with the constables, he has tried to do this many times now, right? That's what got me involved, was him trying to abolish the constables way back then. And and what I pointed out in the text message, he lied. He lied to the other county commissioners back then about the constable situation and all those kinds of things. We fought him. We won. We proved that he was not telling the truth back then, and we did all that hard work, and we saved the constables back then. But here he is again, right back at it, right back to attacking the constables. And you remember last time, after several of the county commissioners got the real information, they changed their vote. It wasn't necessarily what we did. It was supplying them with the correct information, not the bogus stuff, not the shenanigans that were going on with the so-called constable committee that they formed and all those kinds of things. It was hogwash. And so, like I said, we came out with the real things that were happening with the constables at the time, and we saved them at the time. So again, for whatever reason, Sydney Jesse just does not like the constables. He wants them gone. And so after everybody spoke, he couldn't help himself. He had to try to make the constables look bad. There's constables that, break the law, and there's constables that don't have a GED, and there's constables that don't have a diploma. He didn't supply any proof of any of that. He just said it right there in the open meeting. And again, it was simply to make them look bad. And I point that out. Like I said, I'm gonna follow that up with something else at the end, but that's all it was about. It was, again, just to try to belittle the constables who, let me remind you, get out there and work for free. The county gives them no money. The county refuses to put them on the county insurance and all these things. So not only does being a constable in Union County put a target on your back as far as being a law enforcement officer, and any bad guy that might be out there that might want to hurt you or harm you or cause you not to be able to go home to your family, but you also have a target on your back because the county government that's supposed to have your back wants to stab you in the back. Not all of them, but some of them. And I feel, my opinion is, he's particularly one of them in this situation. I don't know what his dislike is of the constables. I can tell you what that famous word is that happens all the time that they like to use, which is liability. But everything has a liability to it. Working at McDonald's, handing out a cup of coffee has liability to it. Everything that you do in your life has some sort of liability to it. And so to throw that word around so easily is a cop-out. And that's just my opinion. Feel free to make it yours. It's just an easy way to blame the constables for something. yeah, we have some constables that choose not to do anything. That's their fault for not doing that, but that's also the people's fault for continuing to vote for the same ones that continually do nothing. I could go through the list, and out of all of them, we have one or two. One of them has moved out of state, so obviously he can't be a constable anymore. But out of all of them, there's several that continue to be. This is their second, third, or more time that got elected to be constable, and that's the people's fault for allowing them to get this position by voting for them and them not do anything. You need to vote for somebody that's actually going to get out there and hold up to their oath, hold up to their commitment. And I understand that people got jobs and all those kinds of things, but don't run for the office if you haven't no intentions of actually doing the job you're elected to. Not only that, but I know of one that's actually a plant by the local government, and that's the only reason he ran. And I won't call his name out either, but that's exactly what that was. But anyways, so after that, we've had a constable in Anderson County who actually lives in the 13th district, and his name is Fred Gillum. And he got up and he spoke about how the constables do great work and all these kinds of things, and that they work for free, they supply their own training, they supply their own vehicles, all these things that we already know. But and he gave a great speech. I appreciate him showing up and that kind of thing, to have his brothers back, like law enforcement should, and trying to support and save the office of constable in Union County. Of course, as soon as he was done with his 4 minutes, here comes Sidney Jesse attacking him too, asking him questions, wanting to know if he thought that it was right for, again, constables to do illegal things and blah, blah, blah. All these things, right? And so the last speaker got up, and his name is Shannon Gray. He was actually a representative from the Constable Association for the state. He got up, spoke about what constables do, what kind of trainings that they have, and what kind of trainings the Constable Association requires for each member, each constable member of that association. It's a lot of work that the constables do, and again, they do it for no money. It costs them money to do this for the citizens of Union County. He did state that they're in process or have already passed different things to better or strengthen the laws to govern and support constables. Part of that process is a psychiatric exam that the constables have to pay for out of their own pocket, and they have to go through that. They have to go through 128 hours of in-service every year, which is the same as most sheriff and police departments. They have to go through a lot of things. They've got to go through firearms training. They've got to go through, driver's training. They got to go through a lot of different things. So it's not like they just get out here, hand them a pistol and one bullet like Barney Fife, and send them out on the road. It's not that way. And I think a lot of folks think of constables as that very thing. And so the majority of these speakers want to make sure that the education got out there, that the word got out there, that Union County supports their constables, even when Union County government does not. They showed up and they made it known. And like I said, I greatly appreciate that they did. So after the public comments went, um, they approved the meetings, they approved the notaries. County mayor's report came, and we got some doozies in the county mayor report. We'll start with the county mayor report. If you remember last meeting, the fire departments had to come and explain what they did with the money that was raised and donated to them and that kind of thing. Well, the rescue squad wasn't allowed or able to, not allowed, sorry, wasn't able to make it last meeting. So they came this time. The rescue squad used their money for updating their light bars on their vehicles. They bought 3 chargers and 6 batteries, 3 sawzalls. They had some new decals put on their vehicles. They haven't spent all the money that they got donated yet, but they will be coming back at a later meeting after they spend the rest of their money to inform County Commission and Union County citizens what they did with the money that they got donated. So kudos to the rescue squad and the fire departments and all those folks out there that are doing an excellent job. Always keep them folks in your prayers, firefighters, everybody that are out there risking their life each and every day for me and you to be safe and have a safe home and community and all those kinds of things. So another thing that the county mayor pointed out, and we're very proud of, is that by the end of the year, Union County will have $8 million in fund balance. Fund balance basically is the piggy bank of the county. $8 million that he's proud to have. Union County never had this much money, and we've been doing a great job saving and blah, 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 blah. What's it really mean? Is because they raised our taxes so much that they are now able to have $8 million in the piggy bank to use as they want and to spend however they so choose. And they're going to do that every chance they get. And guess what? When we start talking about the new jail and all these other kinds of things, I guarantee we're going to hear more talk, more double face, more backbiting, more just everything about how we're going to have more tax increases because we're going to have to pay for the jail somehow. Remember that lie we heard that we're going to get the state to pay for the jail? The state ain't going to pay for the jail for Union County. So if they start spewing that nonsense again too, I hope everybody that hears it will call them out on that lie. But anyways, so it's great to have $8 million in fund balance by the end of the year if it wasn't off the backs of taxpayers having to have all these tax increases. But that's how we got it. Use it for the ball fields. Well, unfortunately, the ball fields are part of the school system, not the county. And so the school system has to figure out how to come up with that money. And if they come to the county and say, hey, can we get some more money? Then that's what they do. But until that happens, the school system has to figure out where that money is coming from. So anyways, $8 million fund balance. Keep that in mind. It just kind of sticks me in the ribs every time I hear when our government is complaining about how much, or not complaining, is praising the fact and bragging about the fact that they're going to have all this money in the piggy bank. Okay, fine. If we're going to have so much money in the piggy bank, can we get some tax decreases? Can we get some tax cuts? Can we get some help for the 26% of Union County that is under the poverty level? Can we get some help there? Can we get some help for folks out there that that actually need the help? Can we stop taxing them? Can we give them some help on the wheel tax so maybe they can get to work without having to worry about to getting pulled over because they couldn't afford this little sticker to put on their license plate? Can we get some single parents out there? Can we get them some help? Maybe lower their property taxes some so they can afford to buy a house instead of renting. Can we do some things to actually help the citizens of Union County instead of bragging about we're going to have $8 million in fund balance by the end of the year? We're going to have $8 million sitting in our piggy bank that we got off the backs of the hard-earned, hardworking citizens of Union County. Sounds like a pretty daggone good idea to me. But that's why I didn't get elected, I guess, because I use my brain and I use common sense. But that's just the way it goes. I know some people don't like me being so negative and those kinds of things. It's facts, folks. Whether you like the fact or not, it's facts. You don't have to like what I say. You don't have to even watch the podcast if you don't want to, but it's not going to change the fact that it's the fact. If people are happy paying taxes and high taxes and continuing to allow them to raise taxes, but then brag about having so much money in the piggy bank, then they're just going to continue to do it because we let them do it. And again, folks, we don't bow down to them. They work for us, and we have to remind them of that. And when they do something or they brag about having all this money in fund balance, that's exactly what they're doing. It's like a slap in the face to me. But all right. So during the county mayor's report too, Greg Dyer made an announcement that the potential jail property was out of bankruptcy now, that it's good and cleared and all those things are good to go now. So they're looking to proceed with that purchase of that property, and they're still going through that process. So we'll see how that pans out. They've got to see, do some core drilling and all those other kinds of things before they can purchase the property. They've got to even look into the fact that are they even going to be able to purchase the property? Because my understanding, there's a minor who's actually part owner or person that's supposed to inherit that land and that kind of thing. And there's another person also that owns that land. It's being called the Lois Hubbs property, but she actually is not the actual owner, from my understanding. So we'll see how that shakes out. The building of the Big Ridge and Speedwell community centers and the new EMS building in Manorville and Chapel and all those kind of things. Greg Dyer did ask the mayor that for all these buildings and such, that another committee, folks, a committee gets formed to oversee the construction and that kind of thing as pertains to these buildings, and to make sure everything's going right and being cost effective and all these things. So the mayor said he would do that. And so we'll have to see who actually ends up on these boards, which might be another telling tale, because we know how these boards are stacked in certain ways. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. Also, Larry Lay talking about these buildings and Big Ridge and Speedwell and the EMS buildings and such. Larry Lay wants to approve those bids and to be able to look at them and even see what the bids are, because the way our local government is set up, it's under 1981 form of government. Our county commission doesn't get to vote on these bids. The finance department opens the bids and decides who they're going to use and that kind of thing. County Commission has nothing to do with it. They can see the bids after they're opened and that kind of thing, but they cannot vote on it and approve whoever. So that's another thing that's interesting. We hear so many complaints about how our form of government is set up from these county commissioners and such. I know it probably would be a big deal to do. I'm curious what the manner or the actions that would have to happen in order to change that. Obviously, it got changed at some point in time. I'm sure we were under a different form of government at some point in time. So it'd just be interesting to see if any of these county commissioners that want to do things like approve the bids or do different things that they're currently not able to do. Will any of them actually push that envelope a little bit? Will any of them actually try to rock the boat a little bit and try to change it? I don't know if they ever will, but it'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see the steps that would have to be taken in order to make something like that happen. Just curious to me. But Larry Lay was really kind of aggravated about not being able to approve bids and that kind of thing. He thought something county commission should be able to do. And it's going to be one of the few times that I might actually agree with Larry Lay. I'm not sure that county commission shouldn't be involved in the approval process. Just my opinion. Sounds lumpy. It would just, I don't know. It would be more open to the public to see. Number one, it would be a lot better for us during county commission meeting, for instance, or that kind of thing, to be a part of the process. Right now, with finance the only one handling it. We really don't, as far as the citizens of Union County, don't get to be involved in that process to do those kinds of things. So, it'd be interesting, if nothing else. But Mayor Bailey did not like Larry Lay questioning that, and pretty swiftly shut him down and told him that was not allowed. That kind of thing. So, moving on from there, we get into Blue Mud. Blue Mud, if y'all don't know, is out here, the boat launch, Big Ridge, right down the street from my house. Just, I probably almost throw a rock and hit it, but probably not. But it's just 2-3 minutes down the road from me. But Blue Mud got a ARC grant, and so, or they're trying to get it, ARC grant. And if all that happens, they've got a site map already done up. And so what's that going to bring? Well, it's going to get 50 approximately parking spots down there for the folks to park their boats and all that good stuff. They're going to get the parking lots paved and the road in between. The 2 parking lots that are there now that are gravel right now, they're going to get that paved. It's going to expand the ramp, make it wider, so hopefully 2 boats can launch off there at the same time. They're going to build a pier for folks to go out there and fish off of over the lake and all that kind of good thing. So they're going to do that. They were going to put some bathrooms out there. Mayor Bailey took it upon himself, said, nah, we don't need no bathrooms out there. We'll tear them down just so we can get the 50 parking spots, because with the bathrooms gone, you'd only got 30 parking spots. So he made that decision. So taking the bathrooms out, you got 50 parking spots down there now. Great thing. I know traffic gets kind of crazy down there, and it's going to change the entrances to 1 entrance and 1 exit. down there. I get all the safety concerns. I get all those kinds of things. Great things for Big Ridge to have and all that. It's a 50% match, folks, on this grant. What's that mean? Well, this grant or this project is going to cost nearly $1 million. And so with a 50% match, Union County has to pay their part of that match, $477,688. That's our money. But it's okay, folks, because, the park belongs to Union County. And wait, what? What? Wait a minute. Big Ridge is a state park, not a county park. So we're going to pay to have a state park fixed. So, but it's okay though, because after we pay, we're gonna be good, and the state's going to take care of all the maintenance and all that kind of good thing after we go ahead and pay for having it done. But it's also a great thing because tourism is going to go through the roof, and we're going to have people, according to Don Flatford, we're going to have people coming here to use that boat launch from Oklahoma and all over the place. And so Union County is going to be rolling in the dough because they paved the parking lot and did all these improvements and all these kind of to do. And I'm not knocking it. I am saying our price tag money, to pay for it. And not only that, they want to talk about tourism. Times that the tourism dollars that come in the Union County can only be used for tourism. That's the way Union County government has it set up. The money from tourism goes to tourism. So it's not going to help lower your property taxes. It's not, I don't care if an extra $100,000 comes in because they do it. It's not going to help you lower your property taxes. It's not going to help you do those kinds of things because the way Union County has it set up, that money goes to tourism. So their big selling point is we're going to have all this tourism. Okay, well, we can argue the fact that with this tourism, we're also going to get tax money. We're going to get sales tax. We're going to get all this other stuff, right? The closest big store to Big Ridge is going to be in Clinton. So who's going to get that tax money? It's not going to be Union County. It's going to be Anderson County. Closest gas station to Big Ridge is where it's at. Anderson County. Closest restaurants, guess where they're at? Anderson County. So exactly, how is all this tourism going to help us here in Union County with sales tax? And yeah, I get it. Some people come from that direction and come through Manorville and come from Knox County, and I get that. But if they're coming from Knox County, I guarantee most of the time they are not stopping in Union County to buy their fuel or their whatever. They're probably bringing it from Knox County. Some of them, yeah, I agree, will be doing that. If they travel through Manorville to get up here, then yeah, they might be. If they live in Manorville, yeah, they probably are. But that's tax money that if you live in Manorville, if you live in Union County, you're probably already going to spend. right? But most folks, those of you who aren't familiar with Big Ridge, there's no stores. There's no gas stations. There's no convenience stores. There's no restaurants right here. There used to be a little one right around the corner, but it can't stay in business because for whatever reason, it's a daycare now. So you can't even open it back up during, spring, summer for a restaurant or convenience store. So again, these folks are going to another county, most likely, and spending their money there, giving their tax money there. It's not coming to Union County. So you can scream tourism to me all you want as a selling point. And yeah, it's a great project. It's probably going to be beautiful and all this stuff. I get that part. I'm not arguing that part. I'm arguing the fact that tourism is their selling point, and that tourism money goes to tourism, not helping everyday Joe Blow citizens in Union County trying to lower their tax bill or make their families more financially stable. That's my issue. So then we go a little bit further with that. After, we spend this $477,688 of our tax money to do this for the state park, we can say we did something great. And I decide I want to go at 3:00 in the morning and go fishing, which you're not supposed to do from dusk to dawn. But anyways, so you want to go fishing down there, but I don't want to load up a boat and I don't want to do all this because I don't even own a boat. But let's say I just want to go down there and I want to do my thing and go fishing off this brand new pier that they just built. Uh-oh, I got a ticket. Why do you get a ticket? Well, you know what, folks? If you're not pulling a boat down there at Big Ridge at the boat launch, you just want to go fishing, guess what? If you don't have a boat attached to your vehicle, they have every right to give you a ticket. So how's the folks supposed to go down there and go fish off the pier they're going to build? How are they going to do that without maybe getting a ticket? It doesn't make any sense to me. This is crazy. I don't understand. Make it make sense. I guess they're going to ask for that to be changed, I would hope. But, everybody doesn't own a boat. So everybody's not going to pull a boat down there that wants to go fishing. I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. It's just crazy. Anyway, so that's Blue Mud. It did pass. Those that voted no was Gerald Simmons, Mike Bowles, and Ashley Mike. They didn't think we needed to do that either. Going back to the 13th district or Speedwell, they did do a plot layout or what their design is for the community center out there. They are going to, which I tried to ask them to do out here in the Big Ridge area. I asked them to look at if they were going to build this new community center, would they build it with a trash or a convenience center, or my preferred thing was an EMS station. I didn't see, they didn't show a Big Ridge idea yet, but they did show the 13th or Speedwell Community Center. They are in talks with Dan Kilgore out there. They're going to buy 2 acres out there in Speedwell for $35,000. They're going to build this community center. It's probably going to be about the size of Paulette Community Center, or maybe even a little smaller. But they are also going to turn it into a convenience center as well, and have a little roundabout kind of thing out there, so they have 2 dumpsters or so folks can throw their trash and have a place for all that good stuff out there. So good idea. I'll give them kudos for that because if you remember correctly, the folks that did have the convenience center out there in Speedwell refused to renew the lease. And so now Union County is paying Claiborne County to haul off the trash for the Speedwell folks out there. So this is going to solve a little bit of that problem, I guess. And so there's $400,000 set aside out of ARPA funds that are supposed to be $200,000 a piece for the Big Ridge and the Speedwell Community Center. They've already bought the Big Ridge land. Again, I've not seen the site plan to see what they're going to do there. I would hope, seriously, with all the medical problems we have out here in the Big Ridge area, I would hope they would actually look into, or at least discuss, getting an EMS station out here. But we'll see what happens. It would just be the right thing to do. Greg Dyer did make a motion to go ahead and proceed with that. It was seconded by Eddie Simpson, and everybody but Gerald Simmons voted yes. Gerald Simmons voted no on that project. So that takes us from the mayor's report. We talked about the art grant for Blue Mud, the home grant, which is the home improvement grant that Union County has applied for 5 or 6 times. They've got it 3 times. It did pass to apply for that again. Hopefully they get it, and some folks that need some home improvements can apply for that and hopefully get some help getting roofs on or whatever the case may be. Matthew Hill with Scott County Telephone, who was supposed to be there to talk about the fiber internet for Speedwell and Big Ridge. He wasn't there again for the 2nd month in a row, even though he was on the agenda. And so the mayor says hopefully he will be there in March. So I've been really looking forward to that one because my internet absolutely is trash out here. And so I so bad want some good internet out here. So there's that. Middle school construction updates. Nobody was there to talk about the middle school construction updates. Maybe because they would have had to admit that they didn't have enough money. Who knows? To build ball fields. Not sure. That's just me guessing. The budget committee didn't have anything to talk about for whatever reason. Sheriff Breeding for the county sheriff's report. He decided he didn't have anything to report either. So the last night's meeting went fairly fast because nobody had their reports. Then Missy Brown and her husband, if you keep them in your prayers too, her husband's still recovering and that kind of thing. So we'll send our prayers that way. So Miss Stacy did that part, the budget and finance, or the director of finance section. They did request and it did approve, did pass $50,000. The mayor requested to repair the fire alarm for the jail. Also to put in a ventilation system in the courthouse because all the smells and stuff that have been coming from the jail, mostly from fires and smoke. Like I said, it's $50,000. Mayor Bailey said, I hope we don't need that much money, but it's there if you approve it, and it passed. The other thing that they talked about was 11 vehicles from the sheriff's department. Again, if you remember last meeting, they were trying to sell these for $1 a piece, and our Union County government said heck to the no with that. Well, this time we're going to sell them for $350 a piece to Hancock County. And if you remember, folks, Hancock County just got hit with the floods and all this kind of stuff, and they're struggling. They need help. And so Union County did Well, let me back up. These are junk cars, folks. Some of them run, some of them may not. Some of them need work. They're older, they're not like new cars, and that kind of thing. They're just sitting there up by the soccer field or the baseball field up there by the sheriff's department. They're just sitting there. But Union County is still paying insurance for those cars sitting there. So it's costing us money, us taxpayers money, for them to sit there. It's costing taxpayers money for them to collect dust because we're still paying insurance. So anyways, and the sheriff also pointed out that when Union County needed some help, Hancock County got a grant, and Union County's portion of this grant that Hancock County included Union County in. Union County's part was $309,000 for Union County. So we couldn't take and give them a little bit of help, a little bit of love, a little bit of compassion during all this terrible tragedy that they're having. We couldn't give them these 11 vehicles for $1 a piece. So now we're going to get $350 a piece out of them. And so that made a lot of people happy, I guess. And so that did pass. So those are going to Hancock County. And there's some more vehicles from the sheriff's department stuff that are going to go on Gov Deals here in the near future. So if you're still looking for a junk car and you want to go bid on it on Gov Deals, you can do that. So then the second part of that was, if you remember last time, we talked about the K9. Well, that came back up again, and we had to talk about the K9 again. And if you remember, they were trying to sell the K9 to the former handler and all that kind of stuff from last meeting. We did get some numbers. They paid $800 for the dog. They paid $700 for training. So we're looking at roughly $1,500, not counting food and all that kind of stuff. But the basics, we're looking at, $1,500 ish for that, for the K9. And that's it's not a pet, folks. And a lot of people I've been talking to hear a dog and they're thinking it's a pet. This is not a pet. This is a piece of equipment, and it's sad to say it that way, but this is a piece of equipment that the sheriff department uses. Okay, it's trained in a specific way to do different things to protect life and officers. Okay, so you got to keep that in mind. Well, so a little bit more came out about this dog. I don't know it's fact. So we're going by what the sheriff's department says about this animal. I've talked to some other folks that said that are not part of the sheriff's department. So this animal is absolutely a great dog. It's great when it's working, but if it's sitting in a vehicle, it will tear somebody up. I've talked to some folks that are part of the sheriff's department that have said that this animal has bit other officers. I've talked to many different people, so you can take whatever part of it that you want and make your opinion on that. But supposedly this dog, even though it's the youngest, newest canine in the sheriff's department, it's very aggressive, and it can absolutely, for no reason whatsoever, be around children. And according to the sheriff's department, they actually had to make a policy on this dog on this canine, that if there's a child around, even if they need to use this canine, that if there's a child around, that they are not to allow that canine out of the vehicle. So that's a little bit of liability for the county and sheriff's department and that kind of thing. So this canine has also already been through 2 other officers and a trainer already, and still having these same aggressive tendencies and aggressive actions towards other people, where they're innocent people or are not, like children and that kind of thing. This animal is still being aggressive towards folks, according to the sheriff's department. And like I said, I've talked to some outside folks that have actually had a chance to interact with this animal, and they did tell me that this animal is very good at working, does a great job working, but is and can be aggressive. So Sydney Jesse made a motion, and Cheryl Walker seconded the motion that we keep the dog or the canine, and we send it with yet another officer or another canine officer to be used. That motion failed. Ashley Mike made a motion to sell the dog for $500, and Greg Dyer seconded the motion. And the stipulation with that is that this canine had to be guaranteed that it will no longer be used in service as a officer. It will no longer be used as a part of Union County Sheriff's Department and that kind of thing. Now, if they sell it to another department or another sheriff's department, another police department, or anything like that, then again, with that sale, that transfer of that property, it will no longer be the responsibility of Union County. It will be whoever purchases that canine. So that did pass. And Sydney Jesse made a comment that I will end up with the dog back anyway. So I guess he's pretty convinced that they're going to get the canine back. So we'll see what happens when all that shakes out. So then we move on. The sheriff did have some questions that some folks wanted. Sydney Jesse actually called him up and wanted answered, and he wanted answers on all these jail fires that have been happening lately. And so one of the most recent fires that have happened, the sheriff said, was because some inmates were trying to heat up instant coffee. And how they did that was there's an electrical outlet that they can reach through with a wire and some toilet paper through the bars there, and reach out and get that toilet paper to catch or ignite, and they use that to set the fires. But it's okay because they were only using it to heat up coffee. They weren't trying to burn the place down, that kind of thing. But they were charged. They've seen them on camera. They've seen the flames and such. And one was charged, or some were charged and sent to Granger County. And they also, in order to cause this not to happen anymore, they took the instant coffee and such out of commissary, because that's where they've been. The inmates have been purchasing this stuff. They purchased it out of commissary and then try to heat it up on their own and that kind of thing. And that's how a lot of these fires have been started, according to the sheriff. And there's I guess a blind spot in the camera system where they can't really get a good view of that particular area. And there's some areas in the jail that they can't put cameras for obvious reasons, bathrooms and those kinds of things. So yeah. So if they can find a plug or a way to do that, then as they all kept saying, inmates will be inmates, and there's nothing for them to do. So they just come up with things to get into and things or ways to do things. I heat up their instant coffee. Miss Megan Brown said, "Lord, please don't let me go to jail because I'm gonna need some instant coffee. Y'all ruined it for the rest of us." Well, I hope you never go to jail. All right. So then we go to our old business, which was the second reading of the resolution to abolish the constable office. Eddie Simpson did make a motion, and Angela Connor Murphy seconded the motion to put it off to March. But then that entails a problem because the way the law is in Tennessee, you got to vote 2 consecutive meetings. And in order to do that, they will have to vote in March and April. So the January vote is now null and void. They didn't vote last night as far as to abolish. So I think maybe a little bug got in their ear or whatever the case may be. But they did vote to put it off till March and April. Now, here's the thing, folks, and I don't think they realized it when they did it, that they just can't bring this motion back up and vote on it. They actually have to make a whole new motion, which could be basically the same motion. So don't get me wrong. But the way they worded it last night, where they were just going to put it off until March and then vote on it. Well, you can't do that. So they have to make a whole new motion in March, and then if it passes in March, they will have to do another vote, and it passed in April to abolish the constables. If either one of those passes or fails, then we will still continue to have our constables. So during Eddie Simpson's comments there about putting this off and stuff, he, I don't know if he meant to do it or if he slipped up and said it or what have you, but he said in January's executive session that they talked about the voting of abolishing the constables, which broke the Sunshine Law. They are not allowed to do that. They weren't supposed to be talking about a lawsuit and what have you that could potentially happen in Union County. They were not allowed because they didn't advertise it. They didn't put it in the agenda. They didn't do any kind of thing like that. So they weren't allowed to say or talk about abolishing constables. And that explains why, as soon as they came out of that executive session, it explains why they automatically took a vote to abolish constables in January. And there wasn't a discussion, even though the agenda said constable discussion. So that made it make sense a little more. However, it just goes to prove what I already filed a complaint on, and that was that they violated the Open Meetings Act. And I got confirmation from the state that they violated the Open Meetings Act. So right now, our constables are still safe. They still are in office. And as of now, in the next election, we could still possibly have constables run for office. Now, when they vote in March and April, then that may go away again. But it's going to be up to the people of Union County to stand up and let their voices be heard. Again, my position at this point is 2 things. I don't believe that one elected body, as far as the county goes, should be able to abolish another elected body. I don't think that's right. I don't think if it's challenged and if people had enough money to challenge it, I don't think it's legal. That's just my opinion. I don't think, folks, constables are the oldest law enforcement agency in the state of Tennessee. They're a constitutional office. That means when the state of Tennessee's constitution was formed, that law enforcement office was also formed. So I don't think that commissioners should be able to vote on that. Number two, my other position is this: whether you want constables or you don't want constables, I don't think that county commissions should be making that decision. I think county commissions should say, okay, folks, we're going to put it in your hands. We are going to put it on a ballot. We're going to let Union County citizens vote, and we're going to be okay with whatever y'all's decision is. Whatever Union County citizens' decision is what we'll go by. And that's how it should be. Whether Union County citizens vote to keep the constables or if Union County citizens vote to abolish constables, it should be up to the citizens of this county, not county commission, especially not county commissioners that have an obvious bias against the constables for whatever reason it might be. And that's my opinion on that. And so the vote that, like I said, Eddie Simpson made, or the motion, and Angela Connor Murphy seconded it, did pass. Those who voted no, of course, no surprise, Sidney Jesse. Also no votes were Kenny Moore and Cheryl Walker. Everybody else voted to keep the constables, at least for now, and to do more investigating and all those kinds of things to see what's going on. And I give them credit for voting that way last night. And as Eddie Simpson said, to let cooler heads prevail and to let things cool down some and to see where we go from here. Again, they may vote in March to abolish them all over again and that kind of thing. But I hope by then, by March, I hope a lot of citizens actually email or call or whatever your county commissioners and actually let your opinion be known. Because if you don't, then you know things are never going to change, and that kind of thing. So that brings us to the end of the meeting, and they, of course, adjourned and that kind of thing, which brings me back to the beginning of the meeting when the public comments were going on. And you remember I told you that Commissioner Jesse basically attacked every single speaker that spoke in the public comments and tried to belittle and talk down about and give a black eye to the constables. And so after the meeting, I went up to Mr. Jesse and I said, Sidney, Mr. Jesse, question for you. He said, yes, sir. And I said, you want to pick on the constable so much and ask all these questions to make them look bad. I said, is it right for county commission to violate the law, our regulations, or anything like that, as you know that y'all have? I've proved it. Many others have proved it. Y'all get called out on it all the time. Is that okay? Since you want to ask if all these things were okay for the constables to do. And he said, no, I don't think that's right either. That's okay. I said, okay, is it okay for the sheriff's department, for instance, to break the law and not follow regulations and guidelines? He said, nope, I don't think that's right either. I think it all should be fair. It should all be equal across the board, he said. I said, okay. I said, well, next time, will you do me a favor? Next time you decide to call out one, will you call out all of them? Will you make sure that you're not just bad mouthing one, but you will put everybody on the same level? You will make sure that you tell folks that this particular office or this department isn't the only one that's doing those same exact things, including yourself, as far as county commission goes. He said, I think that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. He got my point. I just don't appreciate and I don't like a bully. I don't like it when, I don't care if it's Kenny Moore, I don't care if it's Cindy Jesse, I don't care if it's any of them. Larry Lay, I have proved by now, folks, that I will call out any of them. And again, I try to fight for what's right, and I try to do what's right, and I try to make sure that everybody that wants to know, as far as the community goes, knows what's going on. And I just want to make it a point that I didn't think it was right for him to point out one when, the old saying goes, you point at me, you got how many fingers point back at you? But, he was doing a whole lot of finger pointing, and he wasn't pointing them back at himself as far as county commission goes. So I'm not saying him particular. As far as that whole county commission goes, they know they have, they've been told they have. And point out the hypocrisy by saying how bad they are when you're doing the same kinds of things. Maybe not the exact same things, but the same kinds of things. And so I made sure that I made that clear. And so hopefully there were some other commissioners standing there listening and that kind of thing. But I don't like a bully, and I just wasn't going to allow it to be said that way. And I wish you were able to talk during the meeting, because I would have said it right there in open court. But of course, you got to keep your mouth shut if it's not, the public comment section. But I want to make sure that I called him out as soon as I could, and that's what I did. I'm not trying to be Billy Badass or anything like that, but I'm going to fight for what I believe in. I'm going to fight for freedom. I'm going to fight for what's right. I'm going to do what I think is right. And if I think something's being done wrong, I'm going to make sure that I'm displeased with such. Again, it's my tax money too, and that kind of thing. So that's the county commission meeting. That's the update. That's the Dirt Podcast for tonight on February the 25th. Anybody else got anything they want to say? I know it's kind of boring sometimes when we got these meetings to go through, but I like everybody to be informed as much as possible. Right now is your time to make your comments or ask your questions or anything like that. I'd be more than happy to take just a couple minutes to see what we got. And if not, then we'll move along. Well, I don't see anybody typing at the moment. So with that being said, I appreciate you joining me tonight on the Dirt Podcast. Hope everybody had a good evening. Hope everybody's enjoying this wonderful weather that we've been having. I hope everybody's safe out there and all that kind of good thing. Remember, pray for me. I'll pray for you. Thank you. God bless. Have a good evening. They need to lower land taxes. That one snuck in there on me. I almost closed out on you there, Bam Bam. Yes, they need to lower land taxes. I've been fighting that since day one. I fought every tax increase that we've had thus far while I've been involved here in the past few years. We've won some, we've lost some, but we're going to keep fighting. But thank you for joining us tonight. And nobody else has anything else. Again, remember, pray for me. I'll pray for you. Thank you and good evening.
You just heard The Dirt, digging to the bottom of every situation to get the truth with your host, Jason Mills. Tune in next week at the same time for another Dirt broadcast.